So out of all the comics that came out of the Rogan sphere, Tom Segura was always seen as one of the funniest and most successful comedian, with some people even going as far as speculating that he would eventually take over for Joe Rogan. And although I don't think that's ever going to happen, it was a fact that he was the most successful at some point. I mean, he has 5 Netflix comedy specials, a massive YouTube podcast network, and he's also best friends with Joe Rogan. Not only that, but he was also seen as a more likable bear and was preferred over his best friend, Bert Kreischer. But for the past year, Tom Segura has been slowly turning into what him and his wife, Christina, used to hate and make fun of on their own show. Because not only are they now massively successful, rich, and out of touch, but they're also in complete denial about some things, some pretty big issues that have been happening recently, and they won't talk about it or address it at all. From Tom Segura trashing his own fans on the show and the now infamous airport meltdown, which we have an update for, to more recently the disaster that was his latest comedy special, 69 Minutes, which was pretty tough, and the fact that Two Bears One Cave and actually the entire YMH channel has dropped in quality really, really badly. And I never thought I would say this, but after watching a recent episode of Two Bears One Cave, it's now starting to seem like Bert Kreischer might be the more likable comedian out of the two. And we'll get to that, but first we'll start with this clip that I think has now aged extremely well, and it's a perfect example of how delusional Tom Segura used to be and probably is still now.
Would you be willing to drop this if Garth Brooks would come on the podcast?
100%.
No, hold on.
For sure.
That'll never happen.
Why would that never happen?
Garth,
that should happen.
Oh, here it is.
there's no benefit for Garth to go on the podcast.
Incorrect. First of all, they're very nice people. Both Tom and Christina are very nice people.
I'm going to be devil's advocate.
Shut the f up for a second. And they'd be happy to have Garth on and be nice to him and explain, we're sorry if this hurt your feelings. This is all just fun.
Yes.
What do you mean no? Why no?
100% no.
Why? If you're Garth's manager.
I'll tell you as Garth.
Yeah.
How many months do you think it happened to Garth where it was a problem, where he was like, the f is this?
Never.
All of the months.
Right.
Actually, if he went on your podcast, I think it would turn around.
1,000%.
For Tom. No.
For Garth.
No, he's right. I'll tell you why.
Hang on. I'm gonna be. You guys
Why can't you let him talk for a second?
Because
no, it's his turn. It's Bert's turn.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so.
There's nothing that benefits Garth. I'm just being real.
I'll tell you.
It benefits Tom.
I'll tell you why.
It's bigger for Tom than it is for Garth. Garth doesn't get a fan.
Here's why I disagree. So we have profiled people that we've made fun of before. I think if he were to show the sense of humor,
what did I ever do to y'all?
Okay,
he would. I think it would actually.
Objection.
People would flip out.
Objection. You're talking about. I'm just being.
Yes.
You know, I'm your best friend.
I'm not disagreeing.
Just talk.
Just go ahead.
Now, in case you didn't know, for a while now, Tom Segura has been making fun of and trolling Garth Brooks on his show on the YMH podcast, and it's turned into a pretty big inside joke among the fans, in which they essentially, what they do to troll him, they comment on every single picture or post that he does on Instagram, and they make comments that are essentially references to the show that only they understand. And this would happen every single time they posted something. All the fans from YMH would flood the comments until eventually they restricted all of them. And to me, that doesn't seem like somebody that is taking it nicely. And what makes this even more interesting is that now looking back, not only was Bert Kreischer kind of right, but he was also the only one being honest and trying to be real with Tom Segura, because I think it's clear that now Garth Brooks would never do the podcast, especially in the shape that it's at now. Now, that clip was from a Joe Rogan Sober October recap back in November of 2022. And back when it happened, I remember everyone, including us here, thought that it was hilarious how Joe Rogan finally told Bert Kreischer something that we've all been thinking for a while, because to be fair, back then, you couldn't get away from Bert Kreischer. He was everywhere on YouTube promoting his movie, and he was interrupting a lot.
You're talking about a guy's dating video versus Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
Who's selling out stadiums.
Yeah.
He already has the fans.
I know he does.
But you're talking about
Fair.
a guy who in all respects is kind of trolling a star. I'm just being honest about it. It's because there's people listening to
funny.
this.
I think what actually happens. This is my just opinion.
Super
I think what actually
Bert over here.
I think what.
I've thought about this before, but I've thought about this a ton.
I
Bert
think what
Brooks over here.
I think it would make Garth Brooks more money to be on my podcast. No, I'm being serious though. But like,
I think what
Garth's
ends up
already
happening
got the fans, and his fans aren't your mom's house fans.
The comments change. I think what happens is he starts getting a bunch of, instead of like these things that make no sense, they all start going like,
if he doesn't
love,
like
love,
the comments,
love.
the comments go away because of this.
I do. I think so.
But
what?
As a person who's been a victim of Tom's comments,
because dogs,
or the worst one, the worst one
don't even,
was when my special came out, Secret Time. And Tom was calling me the biggest American racist in the world. And I was watching it happen in the comments, and it was like I wish I could watch this, but he's a racist. And then to watch the confusion that happens. That's the problem, is the confusion that happens is what makes you feel powerless.
Now, back then when that episode happened, you could argue that there was a chance that just based on the numbers, Tom Segura did have enough of a pool to have somebody like Garth Brooks on the show, because at some point they did hit like 40 million views in 1 month. But the biggest difference, and the point that Bert Kreischer was trying to make, is that there is a chance that maybe Garth Brooks wouldn't do the podcast, Tom's podcast, simply because he doesn't like him, because he has been annoying him for the past so many years. So for Tom Segura to seriously say that if Garth Brooks simply leaned into all the trolling, it would actually benefit him, is completely insane, especially because now we're witnessing Tom Segura's trolling starting to backfire on him, and now his fan base is slowly turning on him. Because we recently covered the current state of the YMH YouTube channel and their recent 69 minutes comedy special, because it's very clear that the drop in quality has been a steep 90-degree drop. And recently a lot of fans have been sharing how they feel about the show, either on their subreddit or on YouTube comments, and basically saying how much they dislike the recent projects. But for some reason, Tom Segura is not leaning into it.
But you're the most normal. This is a weird thing about you guys. You guys are the nicest people. Like everybody that does your show, like they're great. They're awesome. It's so fun. They're so nonchalant. Nice. Yeah, and it's like I've never heard a bad thing about you.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think much has changed about how we really are from starting this thing forever ago.
Right now, they're just
they're far left. That one.
Who's that?
That's me.
That's not you.
That's me.
That's not you.
2009.
What were you doing? Were you working at a candy factory? What?
I know.
Dude.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
someone wrote, just a friendly reminder of where you came from, Tom.
I ain't no money you tip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, Tom.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were that guy right now.
All right, take it down, man.
Now, something very interesting that happens to comics like Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, and Andrew Schulz is that for the past couple of years, they've been massively successful to the point where they actually start believing that they can't do anything wrong and that everything that they do is funny enough to be put out there. Now, when it comes to Bert Kreischer and Andrew Schulz, I do think that they are a little bit more grounded, especially because they both have no problem saying that they owe everything to Joe Rogan. And even Bert Kreischer recently has been admitting and addressing the fact that he thinks releasing the Machine movie in theaters was a mistake and they should have just went straight to Netflix.
Even with me and my movie, I think that would have been an interesting thing to sell it to the fans. I think ultimately we did.
Yeah.
I think that's where we got
Didn't you guys go crazy at Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix, it's I bite my tongue sometimes, but like we had an opportunity to go into theaters or just go to Netflix. And then at the last minute we had an opportunity to do both. Huh. But at the very beginning I said I wanted it to be in theaters. I listen, in hindsight, I should have just gone to Netflix. Right. It would have crushed and it would have been great for all the podcast or all the specials. But there's a thing about
with an idea.
Yeah, there's a thing about seeing it in movie theaters. Now, having said that, I know now how out of control I was.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know. You don't know when you're out of control. True. You really just feel like I'm getting done. I was making a ton of money.
Things were working.
Everyone was working. Yeah. It's like we're finally doing it.
That thing is happening.
Yeah. The only thing I regret my podcast presence from March of 2003 to like July.
You said 2003?
2023 to July 2023 because I was rolling in hot to everything.
Meaning what?
Meaning like I had days, every day was a 10-hour, 12-hour day of press activities, and so I don't think I ever put thought into anything I ever said.
However, when it comes to Tom, he actually believes that he has done nothing wrong and just thinks that he will be another Joe Rogan, another person that everybody just likes. But I think he forgets that the reason why people liked Joe Rogan, it wasn't because he just had a massive platform and was super rich, but instead because even though he's not the funniest or most creative and he has all the money in the world, he's still actually fully invested in stand-up comedy and podcasting and hasn't really changed in terms of that. Not only that, but he has also helped a ton of people and has invested a ton of money in things like the Comedy Club, which with no intention of making any money, whereas Tom Segura also has a ton of money. And when he had his opportunity to show the world what a real comedian can do when it comes to, a TV comedy or a sketch show, he took the opposite route of Joe Rogan.
Tom Segura, you have a new thing out right now.
Yes.
It's 69 minutes.
69 minutes.
Why 69?
So we did like a...
And why do I always think of 69 when I hear 69?
Well, it's we did like a parody of 60 Minutes, but we did pieces about things like, do poor people use washcloths only?
Is this going to be a show like all the time?
I don't know. Like we,
this is funny.
We produced like I tell the pot. We produced an episode of television. That's what it is. It's 69 minutes, and that we use that kind of like to give ourselves parameters how to make this show, where I host it like I'm the host of a news show.
Yeah.
Once again, we already covered this a few weeks ago, but it is very important because in case you haven't watched it, Tom Segura's 69 comedy special was the worst piece of content ever created by a comic as big as Tom Segura. It was actually insultingly bad, and it's still available, which is surprising because at first it was only supposed to be available for 2 weeks. It was a 2-week rental for $10, which now makes me think that it was probably not doing so well. But I still highly recommend you go watch it and then go watch my review on it and tell me if you agree or disagree that Tom Segura is in complete denial about how bad that piece of content really was. And we actually mentioned this on that review video, but either A, Tom Segura actually believes that was his best effort and a good piece of content, in which case he's delusional, or B, he knew that it was a bad piece of content and just lied to the fans and still pushed it to them. In which case, it wouldn't really surprise me since recently, after the whole 69-minute thing, he kind of exposed a lie that he told a few months ago to Bert Kreischer, his own best friend.
And let's just get to the real meat of this.
Me surprising you at the premiere.
Dude,
so for people that don't know, I got to also say something that I thought about a lot.
What?
There really is a difference, and this goes for like all people in different relationships, is that there are things that are important to some, like one person in a relationship, that's not important to the other person. You come to realize that sometimes you go, well, if this is not important to me, I don't mean your event. I mean going to things like, I've been invited to dozens of premieres, after parties, events, and I have attended, I think, counting yours now, either 2 or 3, because I have only attended for the person, not for, like, some people go, oh, there's a thing.
Oh, I'm not that person.
I'm not going to anything like that. Why? I detest events and like I just don't have a good time.
Now, back when this happened, a lot of the fans sided with Tom Segura, and we actually covered how wild the whole thing was because I thought it was pretty shocking and another perfect example of Tom Segura doing something pretty bad, especially as a friend, and then being in complete denial about it. So essentially what happened was that back when Bert Kreischer's movie The Machine was about to be released on theaters, they had a premiere and did a whole event for the movie, and Bert Kreischer really wanted Tom to be there, which I think is reasonable. And after all, Bert Kreischer is Tom's business partner, and Two Bears One Cave is the biggest show on the network, and the premise of the show is that they are best friends forever. So pretty reasonable. So obviously when Tom Segura said that he wasn't planning on going, Bert Kreischer didn't take it that well and was confused by it, even running it by Joe Rogan, who was also confused by the fact that Tom Segura wasn't going.
I started texting you probably
a
few weeks ago when you were in Europe.
Yeah.
And I texted you and Joe first. I said, I have a private leaving Austin on Wednesday, going into whatchamacallit. Why don't you guys hop on? Joe texted right away. I got to protect my parks with Ari and Shane and Mark. I can't do it. I got shows that night. I appreciate it. Good luck. And then you didn't reply. And then I went, okay. Send a text to you and Christina. Hey, I got a private leaving Wednesday night. No reply. Send a text to you. Hey, man, what's going on with the premiere? Because in my head, there was a number of things.
Yeah.
Number one is Secret Time, we have business over there. Like we have business over there. Like, and so I was like, I want to introduce you to everyone. I want to make sure you know everyone. I want everyone to,
Yeah, FaceTime with people.
And number two, it's like, I remember saying on a radio show, they're like, so is Tom coming? You're like, I go, I don't know. And they go, wait, what? And I said, what do you mean? And then I go, I don't know. I haven't heard from him.
But okay.
And it wasn't until Bert Kreischer's wife actually called him out and guilted him and essentially forced him to go and show up to the premiere. And then when they both addressed it on the podcast, Tom Segura's brilliant excuse was to say that he was essentially too cool for Hollywood and that he hated going to premieres, which is not true. Just last month, he did his own premiere event for the whole 69 minutes comedy special, and it looked like an event that a lot of people attended. Now, I'm not sure if this was just an event for the staff or the people that worked on the project, or if he actually invited other comics to go, because if he did, that would be pretty wild. But at the very least, when it comes to Bert Kreischer's movie, it was an actual full-blown Hollywood production, and Bert Kreischer is pretty honest about wanting to be famous and liking all the attention, whereas someone like Tom Segura just pretends that he's too cool for all of that and that he doesn't want to be famous. But at the same time, he does his own premiere for essentially making a YouTube video. He does a lot of morning shows, a lot of press. He talks about being best friends with Brad Pitt and living close to a lot of famous people, and even shot his own documentary on and released it on his YouTube channel.
Working with Tom is, I mean, you really can't ask for anything better.
Where at some point his personal trainer, I believe, cries when he's talking about how good it is to work with Tom Segura. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, and I understand wanting to reward everybody and include them and all that stuff, but I'm just saying, coming from Tom Segura, who is a comic, a comedian, it's a little bit strange in my opinion. And once again, I think the argument here is that Tom Segura does like the Hollywood stuff and all the attention and the fame, but only when it's about him. And himself only. Because think about it, the whole surprising Bert Kreischer at the premiere, not only was it a bad friend move, but it was also a bad business move. I mean, obviously, Tom Segura didn't give any chance for Bert Kreischer to promote that Tom would be there and all that stuff. But also, he made the whole thing about himself by filming a video, a vlog style video about how much he was suffering because he had to surprise Bert Kreischer when he didn't have to. Bert Kreischer literally had a private jet ready for Tom Segura.
He's definitely answering your FaceTime.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he will. Don't worry.
Okay.
Got Tim Dillon on speed dial.
All right.
Steakhouse. Old beefsteak Tim.
Beefsteak? That's what you have him saved as?
Yeah.
It's on. Hello?
Tim Dillon, it's Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. We're on Two Bears, One Cave.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We are fantastic.
Hey, what, man?
What?
I just called you.
Oh, I didn't see that you called me. My phone's in my pocket. I'm sorry. I would have picked up.
I thought you would have picked up mine over Bert's.
I would have picked up both of yours. Anytime I see a white, successful person, I'm on that green. Always.
Stabby's in.
I think so.
See if he answers your FaceTime.
I actually don't think he will. If that's
Stabby's got a new special out on Netflix, everybody. Stabby's in. You know Stabby's in.
I think everybody that I FaceTime is like, there's no way this is a real
Stabby's
FaceTime.
in.
By the way, when he doesn't answer, you call him right back and he's going to answer.
No.
I got another one.
All right. Well, FaceTime Stabby.
Okay.
Come on, Stabby. Stabby, baby. Guys, Stabby's calling me back. Hang up on the Stavros.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, buddy?
Now, I think that clip is probably the closest we've ever seen Tom Segura come to the realization that some people may not like him as much as he thinks, because Tim Dillon not answering his FaceTime but then picking up for Bert Kreischer was pretty wild, especially because the whole episode, for the whole bit, everyone was quickly picking up and getting back to Bert Kreischer, but whenever Tom would call, no one was answering. I mean, he tried Tim, he didn't answer. He tried Stavros, he didn't call back. And then when Bert tried to reach out to Louis C.K. and telling him that he was with Tom, Louis C.K.'s answer was golden. And it's always refreshing to hear a comic like him just, level the playing field, because every time somebody talks to Tom, even Bert Kreischer at times, they're way too respectful to him. They never make fun of him, and they always treat him as like the as the Joe Rogan #2 for some reason.
Louis C.K. just texted me.
What'd he say?
Can't, my friend. Who's Tom? Oh, Segura. Ladies and gentlemen, you're a f***ing legend, Louis. You're a f***ing legend. You're a f***ing legend, Louis. Hey, you're on the podcast with me and Tom right now.
What's up, Louis?
See, I wasn't gonna call back. I just wrote to you. I can't.
Yeah.
Which is a lie. I just don't feel like doing it. But,
I told you, by the way.
Tom, who I really ran over in my head. Like, why does he say just Tom? Like, I know who that is. So I'm like, Tom who? And then I realized, Segura, obviously. So now I have to call because I feel terrible. Why am I looking at a light? I can't see.
Because the camera
He's
wants to see
showing
your
you to
face.
the camera of your face. That's all.
Dude, do you have AIDS? What happened to you?
I am HIV positive.
You're so little.
Yeah.
That parlays perfectly into our question, Louis.
Okay.
What's your question?
Louis,
we're
we
talking,
know that you're...
Let me handle this.
Okay.
Louis, we're talking...
It's 3 miles.
And I can run 3 miles.
That's
but
it.
I'm not doing that. I mean,
Louis, we'll fly you private. Oh,
I love that comedians think that flying private is like that's it, man. I'm coming.
Actually, we won't. We will send a horse. But But you still run. You're active.
And once again, I think that interaction with Louis C.K. was very interesting because every other comedian that talks to Tom, they always talk about how great Tom Segura looks because, yes, he did lose a lot of weight and that's good for him. But I think people forget that they are in a comedy, they're doing a comedy podcast because I think the worst thing anybody has ever said to Tom was Bert Kreischer saying that he misses Fat Tom, and that was very light. But Louis C.K. was the only one to make a joke about how bad he looked and also how comedians think that flying private jet is everything because that's all they talk about. However, I think the last and most important point that made me start realizing that Bert Kreischer might be the better person or the better comedian overall, not just in terms of writing and being funny and being creative, but overall as a business, a product, and how they feel about their audience. Because if you compare, for example, Bert Kreischer's Fully Loaded tour versus Tom Segura's 69-minute comedy special in terms of, being a product that is different from what they usually do, like their comedy specials and podcasts, there is no question that Bert Kreischer is 10 times better, if not more. I mean, he has talked about how he essentially overpays comics just so that they can tour with him. And in terms of a product, I mean, for the fans, it's actually legit. Even if you don't like Bert Kreischer, the last lineup that he had was pretty good, and I think you get what you pay for. Now, if you look at Tom's 69 minutes, where the quality was terribly low, obviously not TV quality, and the guest appearances were more like quick improvised cameos, and who knows how much or if they even got paid, if the guests got paid. Not only that, but I also remember seeing on Reddit how somebody went to both Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura's stand-up show, and they essentially said that Bert Kreischer, on one hand, seems like he cares about the people, he wants to put on a show and spends a lot of money doing so, whereas Tom Segura just shows up, tells the jokes, gets the check, and then leaves. And it kind of does make sense, and I could see that happening.
Any car you can't fit
can I
in,
just say
any
this
car
real
you
quick?
Yeah.
Every time we talk about like a watch or a car, I'll get a bunch of messages from losers that try to tell me that I'm making them feel bad about their situation. You're in control of your own situation and your own feelings. So don't put it on me that you feel bad, that I have something that, but I'm struggling with rent this month. Figure it out, okay? Like, don't make my life be a problem for your life. If you don't like it, guess what? You're not going to be able to control what people talk about. People are going to talk about things that you don't have for the rest of your life. So you can decide like, okay, I won't, fine, don't listen to me, don't listen to that person anymore, but you have to control your own feelings, okay? It's not on other people to make sure they don't talk about a topic that makes you feel bad, all right? Like, I lost 20 grand gambling this weekend. Go ahead.
Now, keep in mind that this way of thinking was what got Brendan Schaub to where he's at now, because for a while he was on top of the world. Joe Rogan would talk highly about him and recommend him to everybody, and he could do nothing wrong. So if anybody didn't like what he did, you had to be a hater and he didn't care about you. And Tom Segura's version of this was him trashing his own fans after they complained that he was always talking about money, watches, and luxuries and all that stuff. And then the famous airport meltdown. Once again, I think those two things are something that he's highly ashamed of because he has not brought it up or addressed it. And now when you go back to his Twitter or X or whatever, you don't see those replies anymore, which I think means that he probably deleted all of them. I mean, what happened to leaning into it? And this is why, regardless of whether you like or hate Joe Rogan, you still got to give him some credit, because even though he has all the money in the world, he was still kind of able to take criticism. For example, when he did that red studio when he first moved to Texas and everybody hated it, and then he eventually changed it and pretended that that was a plan the whole time. But when it comes to Tom, he's doing the complete opposite. He's ignoring all the feedback, even though some of it could be helpful. He's not putting as much effort in the projects that he used to make. And I don't even know if he's doing clubs anymore. I think he's just touring, which is something that Joe Rogan used to push a lot. However, the good thing about Tom Segura, unlike Brendan Schaub, is that at some point he was actually really, really funny. And I believe that he could get back to that point or even funnier. But I don't think that will happen unless Tom Segura makes a huge, massive change in the way that he approaches things. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Dislike if you didn't like the video. But that is all we have for today. See ya.